Hi friends, good to see you today. It is still squash timber. So yes, that's what you're getting today is another squash recipe. However, it's not mine. It is, I think it's Scott's recipe that he showed Kyle. So I have invited them to share their squash recipe with you. So that's what we're gonna do. Stay tuned for an amazing squash dish. See you soon.
Welcome to Girl in the Garden. We're your guest chefs today. I'm Kyle.
I'm Scotty.
And today we are making zucchini enchiladas, which are absolutely delicious. So of course you're going to need zucchinis. Enchiladas, you always want some cheese. We have our salsa to put on top.
Which you can use any kind you want. Chipotle is my preferred one, but you can use whatever salsa you want.
But the way we cut these is a long ways, because this is what's going to actually be your tortilla strips, basically. Today I'm going to use a mandolin, which my first time ever using one ended up horribly, and I cut the tip off my finger. But we're going to show you how to do that quite soon. I did forget to mention chicken. We bought a rotisserie chicken because it's already cooked. All we have to do is shred it with our hands.
Don't use the skin so much. It actually does ruin the baking process in the end, which you'll find out.
You just eat the skin yourself. The best part. We're probably going to fry that up after we pull it off.
We're going to shred it, so you should work out.
We're going to eat the skin, fry it up. Hello. So first off, what you kind of need to do is cut these into strips. And to show you what we're talking about, we did one already, like this. But we used...
And it's going to come out with a lot.
We used the mandolin, which if you're going to use one, make sure you have safety. Safety first. But you can also use a peeler if you need to. That works as well.
These ones don't work as well as you might think. I mean, you can still do it, but it's strange. The one with the handle on top of where the peeler is has been a very much so like godsend for me. So,
but these do work also if you don't have a mandolin or if you don't want to use one, because I've chopped the tip of my finger off before. So, just why not like to use a mandolin. Yeah.
Zucchini first.
So your zucchini, let's take the ends off.
You want to take the ends off because it's not going to cut off the tips. So, and you don't need them.
Just cut the ends off.
And then while he's doing this, as I don't know if you guys know how to use a mandolin, but while he's doing this, the very first layer doesn't quite matter because it's going to be super small and you won't really be able to utilize it anyway.
That's just the skin.
And even the second layer, in my opinion, is kind of worthless. So, just it's up to you. But once you get to the larger ones, they decide to show up, and they are very much so what you are going to be wrapping your filling in with your cheese and your sauce and all that other fun stuff.
So, I'm already halfway through. And like we showed you earlier, with the mandolin, you get some pretty good strips there. Look at that.
And they're
But
fun.
again, you can also use the peeler. Ours is kind of small, so it doesn't do well.
You should probably set down.
Sure.
Also, if you use a peeler, peel, like I cut mine in half, my zucchini in half, so that way they have a flat end, and then I start on the other side.
But the peeler does exactly the same thing. And we will be right back. And we're back. Our next process, we're going to pull this chicken apart into little pieces and shred it, because that's going to be the filling to our zucchini tortillas.
I recommend that you don't use the dark meat or the wings. Just keep those for yourself. Mostly because the way the meat comes off of it is not always super shreddable. Plus, you're just going to end up randomly finding bones and wasting your time. Go for most of the breast, and I don't know, depending on how much you want to make, judge it on your own. I would say at least 5 or 6.
We have a nice summer storm coming through right now. There's thunder.
Or 5 or 6 servings would be like 2 each, or 2 enchiladas each. So that means you would use the entire side of the chicken minus the drumstick and the wing. But if you really want to be extra, you can totally use it all. Otherwise, you're just shredding it, rip it out. You can use the skin. I don't recommend it, but you can use the skin. The skin kind of doesn't cook well, like for the end of it, but it's still tasty, so it's up to you.
We're totally
Yeah.
going to fry the skin up and eat it ourselves.
Fine.
Well,
Okay.
we'll be back after we skin it.
Okay. So once you've shredded your chicken, which can be just like this, chunks are fine too. But remember, you're making enchiladas, so probably not. We are going to put the chicken in a pan. Again, variations depending on how much you're cooking for, how many people you're cooking for. I would use half of this for now, just while you're cooking. Because you're going to use the other half when you're doing the baking part. And then the cheese, I have, again, cheese is up to you. We're using Mexican apparently from Lucerne, or Sunnyside, excuse me. And, sorry, Safeway shopper. The cheese is up to you. You could literally use as much cheese as you want. It's not that big of a deal, but you're going to push this all together. Make sure you have some left over though, in case you use too much, because you are going to need some for the baking part as well. Then we're going to let it heat. Make sure you stir to a very kind consistency, and once you get to that point, you'll be fine. All you got to do is stir and let it mix together, and everything will be well. So we'll come back to you once that's done to show you how to roll it.
And we're back, and we're going to show you how we actually do our zucchini enchiladas the way we do them. So you're going to take your zucchini, and just about 4 is usually pretty good. You're going to layer them. And I've already made a few, just to get them out of the way. But now you just stick your hand in there. We did wash our hands. Grab some. There you go. Did that. And then now, you just have to roll them. Keep rolling, rolling, rolling. And there we go. We have our 5 zucchini enchiladas, looking delicious. And they're going to be delicious. Next, well, let me quickly give a good rinse. But next what we're going to do now is we're going to use the rest of our salsa that we only used half of. We're going to cover them. Look, we're salsa in. Oh my gosh. Some salsa. A little bit more extra cheese. Cheese to the rescue. To the rescue. I like cheese, so we're gonna do a little extra cheese actually. It's gonna be so cheesy. It ain't easy being cheesy. Boom. Alright. And now we're gonna go into the oven. How much was it? 400? 375?
Trade.
I don't remember. Let's find out.
What? He didn't mention that you can make however much as you want, depending on the size of the amount. You can use all this. I prefer to use foil because it's less mess, and when it bakes, it is totally going to make cheese cook, all over your pan. However, Pam is a good option, which is what we're using for this now, and we're making a small amount of it because we just made some last weekend, so, kind of not over it, but we've had a lot of it. However, there's no downside to doing small amounts. There's no downside to doing big amounts, but that works. I think about 425 is good if you want to do it quickly. There's no actual necessary time, but don't do it too long because you're gonna burn them. And I don't know if you are a fan of burnt cheese or burnt veggies and whatever the mixture is. I just don't know. You can also do it at a lower temperature and do it longer. However, the best thing I found was 425 minutes. And then I use it for meal prep and for work, and then just put them in dishes afterward. So we'll be back to you.
So 425.
Well, 400.
Oh, you said 400. Sorry.
That's
400. Start.
And then we'll let them cook, and then we'll be right back.
On.
And this is all of our extras that we're not using today.
And we're going to feed them to the chickens.
No waste.
Alright, so we have finished baking. It is still bubbling inside. I'm a little scared to grab it, but here we go.
Wait. No.
Oh, sorry. So, pretty much this is how it's going to look. Honestly, I would have added a little bit more salsa on top of the cheese, but that's just my personal preference because I do it for meal prep too often. But it actually came out pretty well. And so once it cools down, we'll be back and we'll discover whether or not it tastes good.
Alrighty. So, here is the deliciousness. Just out of the oven. We let it cool down a little bit.
Little liquid moving.
Because it's hot if you don't let it cool down. But let's do ourselves a little taste test.
Note that it looks like lasagna, and it's fantastic.
It looks like enchiladas. Just so you know, the zucchini may fall apart when you try to grab it, just because it's strips of zucchini. But that's okay. You're still getting your healthiness.
Like
See?
that.
Fall apart.
It will fall apart if you don't come at it in the way you remember. Hence, if you use too much cheese, you will forget what is actually happening.
It can be hard to find sometimes. Alright, so let's do this little taste test. Hopefully it's cooled down enough and I'm not going to scald my mouth.
It's gonna be hot. It's hot.
Hot. Very hot.
So properly let everything cool down before you decide to eat it. But in the end, it will come out like this. It's very good for meal prep. It's wonderful for a little gathering, especially for the halfway vegan people. But otherwise, it's a wonderful dish.
It's absolutely delicious. I think the only thing I would add a little bit more of is maybe pepper. We added pepper to it, but you season it however you want and how you like. But for me, I would add a little bit more pepper, and that would set everything off for me. It was delicious. Did you want to try this, Scott?
I'm okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Anyways, well, thank you for watching us. Don't forget, Girl in the Garden. Give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and go ahead and go to Amazon and buy Tomato Talk. She also has much more books out there, by the way, other than this one. So, thank you for joining us, and we hope we see you guys soon.
It's been real.